we are reviewing season 1 of X-Men 97. And this is Talk Talk Punch. Thank you so much to both our audio podcast listeners and our YouTube viewers for joining us. I, Brody, joined by Tudong Dylan.
Hey!
And the Remy LeBeau of these X-Men, Charlie Hickman.
All right.
I only say that because he's your favorite. I only say that
you're
because
sucking up to me. I love it.
And if you like what you hear and you want to get more of us, we do have a Patreon where you can get exclusive content about topics that you will not see on this main channel. Like, hey, what would be our last meal ever? We were going to die. Find that out on Patreon. And you can get more information about that in our description below. And if you haven't already, we'd love it if you subscribed, notification bell, and all that stuff so that you can come back here every Wednesday and hang out with us and have some fun. Because that's what we do here. We like having fun. We like watching some cartoons. So we're talking about X-Men 97. All right, guys. So I am curious. How connected are you to the X-Men cartoon? Did you watch the original series, like, completely? No, Tudong?
Not all the way, no.
Yeah, I watched it when I was younger. I don't know if I hit every single episode, but then that was the wonderful thing about Disney Plus. Got to take a re-journey through the old nostalgia tunnel. Try to get my kids excited about it. You know, I got they came along for the journey of like season 1, and then we're increasingly less engaged with the with the cartoon. So, you know, but the original was like, I don't know, it wasn't like great, but it was great, if you know what I mean. Yeah,
it was great when I was a kid. I loved it. I recorded it on VHS every single weekend, Saturday morning, 10 a.m. X-Men came on. I tried to pause for all the commercials. I had them labeled with like Scotch tape. Oh, I still have them. I have all the.
Nice. No wonder I missed them. I was like, how could I keep missing them? Because I know I watch them sometimes, but I'd always keep missing them. If they're Saturday at 10 a.m., of course I missed them. There's no possible way I was going to catch that. 10 a.m.
Someone's too busy out there touching grass on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Come on.
I was more like I don't know. I was counting Z's. I was way asleep by 10.
Saturday morning cartoon.
Way past my bedtime.
Had to be up for Saturday. But I was a huge fan, and I was a big X-Men fan, and loved 90. I loved 80s X-Men. That's when I started reading X-Men. Loved it in the 90s. Have all the Jim Lee.
Let's see the tat.
Got the there. Got X-Men faded now, but yep, there.
Nice.
Okay, so let's talk about kind of overall thoughts of X-Men season 1, X-Men 97 season 1. So we'll kind of give some overall thoughts. We'll give some highs, some lows, maybe what we'd like to see in season 2, because they have to do a season 2.
Yeah.
I don't think they've announced it, but they have. So. Season 1. I don't know. What do you guys think? Charlie.
There's definitely season 2 coming. It has been announced, and
it has.
They're already working on.
Cool.
Yeah, so they're already working on the animation
here, folks.
Or animation might even be completed, or the story's completed. I think they're working on the animation anyway. But I wouldn't expect it. I'm late 2025, 2026 would be my guess, but it is coming. So no fear. And my goodness, what a cliffhanger. So yeah, it had to be done. I really love this series, and I wasn't sure I was going to be honest.
Right.
There was that like a little cloud of drama right before the release, and it was just kind of like, oh man, like a couple little warning flags popping up, and I think it's been a little while since I've really loved something, like really loved something that the MCU put out. And so, I kind of popped the first episode on after a couple of weeks. There'd been a couple of releases, just because I wasn't like, I was just kind of savoring this is the Schrodinger's cat, like it was existing in the series where it was the best show I'd ever seen and the worst show I'd ever seen, and I didn't want to open the box to find out what it was. But finally, finally gave it a chance and popped it on, and I was just absolutely hooked. And then it was like the mistake of like, oh, well, there's only 2 episodes, there's only 3 episodes, and then of course that felt never the gap was never longer than after episode 5. But
Oh, I
it was
know.
beautiful. Like the animation was gorgeous. There was like just
So
beautiful moments. Like the Nightcrawler Wolverine fight, where I just like there was some really like, like I loved the character arc of Jubilee, and like just
Yeah.
she was I don't know she was really annoying in the the original
she
animated
was.
series,
Yeah, she was.
and it's just like right away I was like, do I love Jubilee? Is she she's amazing? Like which was not what I was expecting, and I like the scene where they're dancing in the club. I just thought there were just so many like little
So
moments. It just looked great. I thought there was great story arcs. If I was gonna pop a little complaint in here at the beginning, some of it just felt a little rushed. Like it was not a lot of episodes, and we kind of got
Yeah.
to some
Yeah.
big things quickly. I didn't
yeah.
like going from the emotional high of episode 5 into like part 2 of a story that kind of started in episode 4 into episode 6. It kind of like I think it kind of devalued that storyline a little bit. Like I just kind of like this isn't what I want to know right now. Like
Yeah.
I'm still gutted for episode 5. What are we doing here? Like I'm not invested in this. Um, so there was some like moments like that. There was some frustration, but the fight scenes were amazing. We got to see
Mm.
Phoenix. I mean, there's just so many cool things that happened along the way. But what about you guys, Dylan? What did you think of it?
I've clearly seen the animated series the least of from all three of us, but so I didn't know exactly what to expect. Uh, I was very pleasantly surprised. Like as soon as it started, and they flying out someplace on the on their jet, and I I I I was watching how all of these people are helping the non-flyers down, and then the thing that really got me that I was like, "Oh, wait, what?" is Cyclops just jumps out and he's going down there face first. I was like, "Is he gonna do what I think he's gonna do?" And he did. He shoots it and he blasts it, and I was just like, and after that, I was like blown away. I don't know if he ever did that in the the animated series before, but I
Oh
haven't seen
no.
him do that, and I
I don't
thought that
think
was
so.
fantastic. I was completely like I bought in as soon as I saw that. Um, I got to admit, I one of the things that I always appreciated, but I never got to read or see, is the whole like Professor X dies, and then he basically wills like the X Men to Magneto. And when I saw that was happening, I was like, cannot believe they're doing this, and I get to see this. I kind of really wanted to see how this would go, and I like that kind of storyline. I really did. I liked seeing Magneto try to be good, and everybody is like, "We don't trust you, bub." Nobody was like giving him anything like that. And yeah, I thought it was fantastic. It was great. I was really, really surprised by how good it was. Like, it was excellent. Is that the same? Some of the voice characters. I know Jubilee is a different voice,
Yeah, some
but
of the voices came back.
most of them did.
Some have passed
Kevin Feige
away.
Some of
Yeah,
the past
Kevin
on.
Feige said if you can get the original people and you can get the original song to play in the beginning, then those are the only stipulations. And I was like, that's really cool.
I had heard that even the original actors needed to like re-audition.
Really?
Well, I mean, we're talking like it ended in 97. So we're
They probably just had to show that they could do
we're
it again. Like I don't think
25
audition.
years past. I mean, voices change, stuff like that. I mean,
That's true. That's true.
um, and some of the
I
voices,
have to
some of the actors even kind of swapped around. I think, like
really.
Cable, the guy that voiced Cable, I think voiced a different character, in the original series. So some people like came back, but they were different characters.
What do you guys think
Hey,
of the character of Rogue? I'm curious. I've been curious. I wanted to ask you guys this. What did you guys think of that characterization of Rogue?
So Chris Potter. Sorry, just real quick. So Chris Potter did the voice of Cable in this, and then you may recognize Chris Potter as the original Gambit from
Okay.
Oh.
the X Men the
Hmm.
animated series.
Okay.
Um, so they had a couple like little swapsies. Uh, I do want to circle back to the voices because I do want to talk a little bit more about that. But I loved Rogue in this. I loved getting to see one of the more. I think she had maybe I don't know maybe the best. I really this is one of my favorite versions of Magneto that we've gotten to see on screen.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah,
probably just my flat out my favorite version. Like
yeah.
just like I loved that they made an effort, and not every character got the screen time. We didn't get like a real in depth morph or beast or
Sure.
bishop or things like that. But like to really kind of give three dimensions to these characters. Like I just thought we got to see a lot more of that from Magneto. We got to see a little. It was kind of the animated series growing up. There was like more of a whiff of sexuality and kind of this like love triangle with Rogue and Gambit and
Gambit,
Magneto,
yeah.
and you get to see her happy and
Very upset.
being sensual, and you got to see her getting angry and really pissed off, and that was like man, that was cool. Like I just was like Rogue is such a great character, and I think when you put good storylines behind good characters, like that's where like the magic is. So it was really neat to see her take off in this animated series, if you will. Same voice actor for Rogue. We can play a little same or different as we go, but
Oh, there we go. Do you have anything else, Chudong? Wanted to
did you have any
just
thoughts on Rogue specifically, bro?
Oh, I mean, I loved Rogue. I thought she was great. I really
I've
liked.
never, I've never seen her like this. I mean, except I've like when I've read her in the comic books. It's a big difference from from the movies. Big
Oh,
difference.
from the
You don't,
movies. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
you don't get
Oh,
like she doesn't get a lot of the screen. Well, even when she does get the screen time, it's just a whole kind of different vibe. And this one, it was really cool to see, especially with like her arcs, all the different variations of how she was. And some of the people, I've got to say, like, yeah, I don't know. There was a lot of different things. I really thought the voice acting was well done. I liked just about everybody in the whole thing. I'm trying to think of anybody I didn't really like. They didn't really sell it, but I thought everybody did a very good job.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought the
I
voice
love.
actors were all good, but I was a little like, did anybody else to take a little getting used to the Professor X voice? Like
I
not
don't.
hearing that, just like
That did sound a little bit different.
I don't think so. I think I was fine.
he had more of like a hi, it's me, Professor X. Instead of like, oh, it's me, Professor X, Patrick Stewart, or like
Sure.
the original Professor X, Cedric Smith. Just like a real traditional. I'm a thespian trained at the
Okay.
Royal British Academy of Theatre.
Oh yeah,
That's what
And the new
happens when
guy's
you
like,
spend a couple
hey,
years up
it's
in
me,
space.
Professor X. Yeah,
you start to become very
I got
very
used to it, but
Americanized.
it was a little like just like at first it's like hi yeah I'm definitely I'm a little bit more Americanized. Yeah, it was kind of it was just a little jarring for me at first, but I got used to it. I got into it. It was good.
Yeah, I was
Um,
you.
Brody Storm, same or different?
Same. She's the same.
Correct.
Really
Correct.
nice.
It's
She's a
it's
cool
hard. It's
storm.
hard to picture anybody else
Oh, she's so great.
so good at it.
I wish, and oh, sorry, go ahead, Brooke. So go ahead.
I was just gonna go into my thoughts on the. If you wanted to
Yeah.
bring something up before I jump
No, no,
in.
no, no. Go.
Okay. So for me, like I loved this, loving the original cartoon, loving X-Men, particularly like the 80s and 90s. And this really made me miss the 80s and 90s X-Men. I read X-Men comics up until the 2010s, and then I just kind of fell off because I was I'm just not really feeling I'm not really but like the 80s and 90s X-Men Claremont stuff just
Mm,
has this really special place in my heart. And so many of little stories that they dropped in were
mhm,
directly
mhm,
from 80s and 90s. So, and they did, I think, Charlie, I think I agree with you where some stuff did move very fast and we're hitting like full arcs of stories like in one episode.
Yeah.
We had the Madeline Pryor Goblin like one episode, and
mm,
she's good and healed, and now she's like, just call me Madeline.
Yay.
Um, and I was like, Oh wow, okay. I thought that when we got the clone thing, this is going to be like a season long arc of who is
Mhm, mhm.
who and Sinister's behind all this, and then it was like the next episode all wrapped up. And so it was very interesting because I'm going through and I'm like, oh, they're doing this story, and I loved
Yeah.
it. And then it was completed, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm glad that I saw that, and I loved the way that they did it. And don't get me wrong, I loved the way that they did Madeline Pryor stuff because in the comics, it was a bit convoluted with all of the Inferno story and Madeline. Is she
Mm.
clone? Is she just a different person? Because Jean was gone, and they needed Jean for the X Force comics, and kind of threw a monkey wrench in. And so I thought that they did this really nicely. So I was really happy about
Mm.
that. The fact that they went to even like fatal attractions, with the Asteroid M and Magneto and the blue and gold team and Wolverine
Mm.
thing at the end. By the way, major spoilers. I don't remember if we mentioned that, but major spoilers for this. We probably should have said that right off the bat. Um,
We'll add a graphic.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But the Wolverine stuff at the end, it's like
I was really
that's
surprised
a
by that. I
that's a
was
major
really surprised.
storyline, and they're
Yeah.
weaving Bastion in, they're weaving Sinister in, and like in the comics, none of these things really touched like this, but they kind of wove it in really nicely, really. I loved the stuff that they were doing with Cyclops. Cyclops has kind of been
Yeah.
done dirty in the comics for the past
It
20 years or
very
so.
much
It's
in the
like
movies. Very much so in the movie.
he's like, yeah, he's a jerk, he's a bad guy, he's having an affair with his wife. Just, he's and so I thought going to this Cyclops, I was like, oh, this Cyclops is so good. This is the leader of the X-Men Cyclops. I loved the stuff that they did with Optic Blast, especially
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
first episode where he's pushing himself around. Oh my god. I was watching that and I was like, so but yeah, I really loved all this. Okay, so I was watching this and I thought to myself, I don't know if I want a live action if I get this.
Wow.
Like this was so good and this hit such a sweet spot for me. And I
Mm.
don't know where they're going with season 2 and we'll talk about that a little bit. Like I don't know. Did you guys ever feel that way? Were you ever like so happy with this that it was like, "Oh, could could a live action kind of be better than this?"
Well,
I
how many different
100%.
movies do they have to try? And they didn't. They didn't get close. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Charlie. Go
I
ahead.
don't
Go ahead.
want to see another live action Phoenix story. I think for like another, we need to put like a kibosh on that for like another decade at least.
At
Right?
least.
You know,
No. Sadly,
no,
sadly, because I love the Dark Phoenix saga. I want
Mm.
to see it,
Mhm.
but I don't want to see it, like it's
yeah. I mean, like I'm here complaining. There was 9 episodes, and I'm here complaining that like, man, it moved a little too fast. And part of that is not just like the how quickly storylines were started and stopped, but also like characters that we didn't get to explore. Like I really loved how they highlighted characters in different episodes to kind of give them their own arcs. I think it's one of the best parts of reading the comic is that you get to kind of fall in love with the different X-Men as you read about their different
Mhm.
different personalities, different storylines, different arcs, and where different X-Men at any different moment can take on a different priority in the storytelling. And then you put it in like a 90-minute movie, and it's just kind of like all kind of crammed in there. You don't get to do any of that stuff. It's just kind of like, you maybe highlight one or two, and you better hope that the story's good. I mean, the first two X-Men movies back when we were kids, like, were good. Like, they're fine. But like by comparison now to like what the MCU has done and even some of the DC stuff, it's like, oh man, it's kind of tough to go back and watch that. And man, X3 was terrible. I liked Days of Future Past, but like the sequels that came after that with, oh man, it just I'm skeptical. I don't know if I talked to you about it, bro, but I certainly had that exact thought, and I was like, I don't know if it can be better than this, and I don't know that I don't know how, like now, like even if they make it, like the bar is so much higher. Before the bar was so
yeah,
low. It was like, okay,
yeah.
it's like, okay, like it just has to be kind of better than some of the what the MCU has been putting out lately, and it's got to be better than like the last horrible set of X-Men movies that we had. Now it's like, okay, we're competing against this beautiful animated series with this like great storytelling, and so it's I don't know, it's a higher bar.
Yeah.
I'm already ready to be disappointed if they do it.
Dylan, what did that thought ever cross your mind?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I didn't really watch the last couple of X-Men movies, so I didn't get the new Storm, but the last Storm before her was preposterous. She had character arcs that actually went nowhere. Unfortunately, her accent, I don't know what happened to it,
You're talking about
but when
Halle
I come
Berry
yeah,
or the
yeah,
uh,
absolutely. Yes, Halle Berry, who couldn't do the accent in the first one and then just decided to drop it in the second one because, either way, this particular storm, this is the kind of storm that I always pictured when I was reading the X-Men. Powerful voice. That's why I was just like, why not Angela Bassett? Why not have Angela Bassett as Storm? She would have been a perfect Storm. But either way, yeah, I mean, like, and not only that, I look, and I love Wolverine as much as the next person, but I mean, majority of the X-Men movies kind of revolve around him, and I liked the idea that he was not the main character in this. I loved his stuff when he was in it. I loved it each time when he was just like, "Yeah, we're just gonna kill him." I was like, "Oh, that's Wolverine,"
yeah,
but he did not take over.
I agree,
He
and
didn't lead.
that was something that I wanted to bring up too, was like Wolverine was
Yeah,
not the central focus of
yeah.
like, and since the 90s, since this cartoon, after this,
Mhm.
it was Wolverine and the X-Men.
Yeah,
X-Men
yeah.
Evolution, where Wolverine is the main. Like, I was so happy that Wolverine wasn't the main character.
Yeah, it doesn't. It drives me a little bit nuts. It'd be like like having Superman movies where like he's constantly fighting like someone who's made out of kryptonite. Just like
Mhm.
all right, the Justice League's going up against this baddie. All right, we need Superman to go in there first. He's going up against this guy who's just one giant piece of Krypton. Like they keep fighting Magneto, who like controls metal. Like there has never been a more useless mutant to come. Like, all right, let me through the front lines, and it's like, oh, he's controlling my whole body, and Magneto's just like, hey, quit stabbing yourself. I mean, just like there's never been a more like useless pairing of like mutant power to like the main bad guy that they fight, and it always drives me nuts that they're trying to like find ways to like excuse Wolverine to like be the star of some battles against Magneto and stuff. It's like, all right, come on, like just. And so it was nice to see him take a little bit of a back seat in this and get a little shine on the rest. I think he functions
Yeah.
better as like a grizzly, grumpy Brody type who kind of
Yeah.
just like says some and and then gets to and then move on with his day. I don't know if he's Brody,
Went
but
full
Brody is a pirate
Popeye.
and he's also a Popeye
Full
at some point.
Popeye.
A Hugh Jackman Popeye movie, by the way. Come on, I'd watch that.
Oh,
That'd
there
be
you go. There you go.
great.
You're welcome,
Um,
Hollywood.
okay, so let's talk some high points. Tudong, what was your high point of the season?
High point of the season. Wow, high point of the season. That's tough because I mean, so many like it was really funny how like these good things happen, and as soon as this is like the X Men, this is quintessential X Men. As soon as something happy happens, it's like 10 times the worst happens. Uh, point
Or
of
if
the
there was
season.
like a high episode for you that really stood out as like favorite.
And that first one was really good. Like when I saw Cyclops use his optic rays to like, like it to just use that as a cushion to jump to the Earth from an airplane. Could not. When I saw that, I was just like, "What is he gonna do this?" Um, gee, like I was kind of curious with Jubilee and Sunspot. I was waiting for him to be like, "I'm like, come on, say Sunspot. Sooner or later, you're gonna say it. Come on." I actually really liked seeing Magneto lead the X-Men. I mean, that to me really and then they kept coming back to him. Uh, he was fantastic in this. I like that they had their own country, and then seeing it decimated was just kind of
Yeah.
like,
Oh god.
They can't have anything. The poor mutants can't have a thing. And then there's sentinels, and then there's people sentinels. I don't know. I liked it as it went. I really like I said, I wish Magneto was leading more in the series, because he kind of stopped and then he just went full bad guy almost. Uh,
Oh, very much
yes,
did.
in that
By
episode.
like episode 9 or whatever, he was back to
Yeah, he's just
full
like,
bad
yep, I
guy.
don't even care anymore. I don't even care. I'm not leading the X-Men anymore. I remember reading about how Professor X, with the with the lady, he like they had like a whole thing. I really liked seeing him talk to that entire race when he had them, and he was like, "I'm using my powers. You guys are in a classroom now." I
Oh,
I
the
don't know
Shi'ar. Yeah,
why.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right, the Shi'ar. I don't know why that I appreciated that so much, but I loved seeing him kind of do that. I mean, there was lots of different things, bro. I mean, it was only 10 episodes, but I was just kind of like, "That's fantastic. That's fantastic. What happened to Storm?" And then her powers, I don't like, she lost her powers, and then they like part of it was just a mental block, and I'm like, I don't know about that, but I mean, she was majestic and she just went for it. What about you? What about you, Charlie? What was your favorite part or episode?
It's hard for me
It's
to
when
call this a favorite part because this is like the equivalent of like you see someone on social media or something post like some horribly sad story and your options are to like it or dislike it. And it's like, it's like, oh my, my whole family's wiped out today in a tornado, and it's like, hey, way to go, thumb up.
yeah.
It's, so I don't know if I can call it my favorite part, but like episode 5 was just like the culmination of my favorite X-Men Gambit finally like getting a really great story arc leading into that.
Yeah.
Best representation I've seen of Gambit on screen. Speaking of all these bad X-Men movies, we can't even get a bad Gambit in most of them anyway. We can't even get a bad Gambit.
We've
Uh,
gotten enough bad Gambit. A lot of bad Gambit. More than
they did him dirty in the first X-Men too. They think in the season 1 they think he's a traitor, is going to kill the president. Now here's poor Gambit. But I loved getting to see like I think like just like the biggest and coolest way I've ever seen his powers displayed. Like
mm,
getting to see that like with all the color and the beauty,
Yeah.
and then just the gut punch, the gut and just this quiet somber gut punch where I'm like, I'm not gonna cry. It's just an animated TV show. You're not gonna get me. And then it's like, yeah. It was a really beautiful moment, and I had a my wife hasn't seen the animated series or whatever, but I made her watch the end, and she's like, "Oh wow, this is like really dramatic." And then she saw the end, she's like, "Okay, so I get it. This is why you're sad." I'm like, no, this is why I'm sad right here. You're gonna watch this. We're gonna watch this together. You're gonna understand why I'm sad. Which it was a great, what a wonderful moment. What a great
So good.
moment for Gambit. And then, of course, he's gone. 5 episodes, and then 5 full episodes, no Gambit, and that was irritating. And so, as much of a high as it was like great. Now it's like no Gambit anymore. So that was disappointing. We could have had someone else get the really nice moment of heroism, and I could have had 10 episodes of Gambit instead of 5. But whatever. I'm
Uh,
not to quibble. Yeah, but not the way I want him to be. But hey, whatever. No, we'll talk about that later. I loved in like the next episode where Beast is like, maybe begging for your tolerance was our first mistake. Like that whole exchange, I thought was just really like gripping, and just kind of seeing like the aftermath of like the tragedy and like the different ways that each member of the X-Men was kind of dealing with that and processing it and handling it, and just getting to see that kind of grief play out on screen.
yeah.
I mean, that whole episode 5 was just the like little pockets in the chaos, these pockets of sadness. I don't even call them. It's like seeing these
yeah.
different moments of like these characters, dying, and these different like just terribly sad ways. It was very visceral, and like the way that it was like kind of animated, like just all kind of like ground level, like you're just kind of like viewing it in this kind of like straightforward lens, and seeing it's not like a top down or like so broad out. It was just like really kind of like in your face, the way that they kind of did that attack in a way that I don't think we've seen it before in the
Mm.
comic or the original animation. You knew the Genosha thing was coming. I didn't expect it to be this visceral and this kind of like
Yeah.
Right?
graphic and dramatic, and after the episode, I was just quiet. Like it was just kind of like, oh my god, that what did I just watch? That was like just so unexpected for this particular cartoon. But that was probably like my high point. There was a lot of really great moments, but that was certainly I think probably the one that we'll all be talking about over the next year plus or whatever.
It's like the Red Wedding episode.
Mm.
Yeah.
The X-Men season. It's like, oh, episode 5. And that was one of the things, was like, oh, episode 5. And people who have seen it are like,
Oh,
God. It's just like, that's how you just know it. It's like, oh man, episode 5 was something else.
Oof.
So for me, I loved episode 5, but like episode 10, right? Like the season finale. It was 9 or 10. Was there 10 episodes or 9 episodes?
10 episodes.
10 okay, so yeah. So episode 10, just, because um it, it hit so many like different like things. Like I think one of the big things was the getting like these original costumes, like the 80s costumes.
Mhm.
It was just like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, they've got Wolverine in the brown and yellow.
Yeah.
They've got, the Marvel Girl outfit, the Cyclops, like, and I was like watching Pride of the X-Men again, and like that was amazing. Going up and doing the fatal attractions with Magneto and Professor X, like going at it, and it also had this really nice like uh culmination of like this whole Summers family story arc that that was kind of like going through the whole season 1, and I love like the Summers family. My
Yeah.
kids are named after Summers kids,
Mhm.
and so it's like to be able to see those and see and to know how convoluted some of the Summers family got comics. With like, oh, is Cable the kid? Is Strife the kid? Cable got introduced. Now he's going to be the kid. Oh, but Strife is, and like, oh, we've got Rachel in there someplace. It's
Yeah.
alternate timelines. And it's like, it was
Hey.
really nice to just get like a streamlined story. And it was really nice to be able to see like Cyclops talking to Cable as his son. Like that's not something that I feel like I've really seen. Cable is Cyclops does this kind of dynamic, but to have Cyclops be like this protective father over Cable, it's like, oh, this is so good. Like, oh my gosh. And so stuff like that. And so like just episode 10, like just hit so many of those things. It really stood out to me. Like before that, it was episode 5. I'm like, episode 5. They're not topping episode 5. And then episode 10 happened, and I was like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
I have to admit, like I read a thing where they were saying how like people are introduced and then people may like leave and then they may come back, and it's even reflected in the being a regular on the when you look at the uh the intro with the credits and everything. And the thing that they had said, which I was just like, wait a second, they were like, oh yeah, like some person like after, I can't remember if it was like part 3 where Bishop goes back with Nathan, right? Nathan.
Yeah.
They're like, he's not on it like anymore. And I was
Yeah.
just like, wait a second, he went back with the kid. I'm like, are they saying he went back with their like little kid and they're not a part of his life? I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know if it would have hit me as much as it did when that happened. And I was like, wait a second. That kid's there and he's gone and they're not going with him and they don't get to raise him. And I mean, when I was younger, if I didn't have a kid of my own, it wouldn't have hit as much. But that was one of those things where I was like, wait. Are we coming back to this? When is the kid coming back? When are they going to go with the kid? And they didn't. And I thought, like, that must be terrible. And you see, oh sheesh, what is her name? It's not Jean Grey, but what was her name?
Madeline Pryor. Yeah.
Madeline Pryor. That's it. And then there was that, and I was like, "That's not even Jean Grey?" I was like, "Jeez, this is
Yeah.
ridiculous." And then Scott's talking to her, but he thinks he's talking to Jean Grey, and then she comes in and she's upset. I'm like, I feel terrible for Cyclops. I'm like, from his
Yeah.
point of view, I was just like, "Oh, kid. Oh, no, man." Like, and he's like, "I don't know what I'm even doing here." I'm like, that makes
No.
sense. I mean, I thought it was deeper than I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah.
The
The
whole
the entire like Scott and Madeline and
Yeah,
Jean thing was super interesting. The fact that like Scott was still like meeting with Madeline like in mind, and Jean Grey is like, Madeline, what are you doing? And I was like, oh my, that's pretty much how the Emma Frost thing went, but they're putting Madeline in
yeah,
that
yeah.
spot, and I'm like, oh, this is so crazy. Uh okay, so Charlie,
I
you
just
look like you have
just
something.
want to add just real quick. Speaking of episode 10, I thought like the little like call at the end between Jean Grey and Cyclops and Cable when they're like
All
basically
right,
just
all
saying goodbye
right.
because I think they're about to die. I thought that
Yeah.
was really beautiful. That was just like a real nice moment.
Yeah,
The show did a really good job of balancing like those kind of heart moments and like real human emotion with like the big action and stuff, and just
yeah.
that was a great moment, and like just such an action packed episode to just
Yeah.
take the time for stillness and to calm it down. To have that was really cool. All right, bro, school us on this ending because we got some spoilers coming into season 2 here now.
All right, so season 2, so we've uh well, do you guys okay. So I think there's a lot of stuff that they're setting up.
Yeah,
Um they I think the biggest thing that they're setting up is I think we're gonna see Onslaught come because of the way that Professor X and Magneto kind of melded minds for a bit, and Professor X like took over his body. It was that moment in the comics that uh, it kind of brought out like a dark side of Professor X, which then manifested in its own physical form that became Onslaught. So I think that whether that's going to be in season 2 or whether that's going to be a build through season 2 into season 3, we'll see. But we also have Apocalypse picking up Gambit's
Mm,
card, like walking through Genosha talking about death. So I think we are definitely going to see Gambit come back as the Horseman of Death in for his four horsemen. Uh,
yeah.
it won't be forever. No horseman ever stays bad. Come on. Hey, I think it's going to be neat to see. He had like a cool design. His skin, like he was like negative tone. His hair.
It's
I think you're going to see Gambit do some cool stuff while he's a horseman.
sure, murdering, pillaging,
yeah,
breaking
what
Rogue's
Gambit
heart. Yeah, that'll be
does.
great.
Um,
Rogue broke his heart. Rogue very much broke his heart.
yeah, Rogue broke up. Um, and then we're also like we have the team split right now in two different times. We have some people in the future with Ascani clan tribe who is actually like Rachel
Summers.
Summers. Yeah, it's like Rachel Summers from a different timeline is
Mhm.
raised her little brother in that timeline and became Ascani. So we'll see what happens there because that's clearly
Aren't
way
they
in the
in 3
future.
timelines? Because didn't Wolverine and, like, somebody else not go like, wasn't it Wolverine and Jubilee didn't go, oh, no, no, no. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, wasn't it Wolverine
No,
and
so
Jubilee
there's Scott and Jean
in the future?
we saw go into the future. And
Right.
then there is Rogue, Magneto, Professor X, Beast, and Morph all
Mhm.
went into the past. But then it was confirmed online that Wolverine and Nightcrawler, did Nightcrawler go to the past? Wolverine, I believe, went into the future. More people,
He
more
did?
people went into the future than what we saw. How about that?
Huh. Oh, so
So
Wolverine
if
and Nightcrawler and Jubilee went into the future,
no,
not
not
staying in the
Jubilee.
present.
Jubilee was on the ground. She was on the ground with Sunspot and Cable. So they weren't on asteroid.
But wait a second, why did Wolverine go? Like, he was in, like, a hospital bed someplace, wasn't he?
No, I think he was on the asteroid.
I thought that he was like being tended to because Magneto pulled all the adamantium out of his skeleton.
Yeah, I think
I don't remember seeing him after that.
he was being tended to, but he was on the
in
asteroid.
space.
Yeah.
Uh, huh.
So we'll see what happens with the timelines. Something's going to happen there, but we also had an apocalypse team there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Them
yeah,
going back to pre-apocalypse En Sabanur. So there's going to be something being set up there as well. So they've left a lot of threads, and then also
Yeah.
just kind of other stuff that is still kind of going to be resolved just from other things in season one. So there's all the political stuff, and so
Mhm.
it's gonna be crazy. They're gonna be doing a lot of stuff, but I
Yeah,
am so excited. Oh, and then like Bishop came back and was like talking to
yeah,
Forge. Forge is tracking everybody and stuff. So something's happening
That
in
was
the
that was
present
a
day
nice that
too.
was a nice moment. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So but yeah, and I I like historically have never liked Bishop. I don't know why. I don't know if it was like the comic where he was hunting Hope Summers and trying to kill Hope Summers through time that I really just grew to not like Bishop. But I liked him in the
Hmm.
show. I was like, this show even redeemed Bishop for me, which I thought
Yeah,
would be
yeah.
impossible.
Ah. It's nice to see you bury your petty feuds, Brody. I'm
He tried to
hey,
kill a baby. I read the
and
whole arc of he went through he started destroying entire timelines just to try to kill Hope Summers.
hey, she had to go. I forgot to say when we were talking about the voice acting, how much better Morph's voice was in this than like that of like season one, like that. So I was so glad they switched that up.
Yeah. Oh, and there's
Speaking of
characters
speaking of things that irritated us, it was like, oh man, I
Yeah.
always hated Morph. Like, oh, he's
and
great.
there's I know that we're going kind of long. There was characters we didn't even talk about Morph. We didn't talk about Nightcrawler. I was thrilled to have
He was
Nightcrawler
awesome.
That
back.
was cool.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Always cool.
so and I loved his portrayal. I loved everything about
Mhm,
him,
mhm.
and so just so much we didn't even talk about the villains. We didn't talk about Bastion or
Eh,
Sinister. Like
villains.
we could honestly probably have like a 2 hour
Yeah, we
but
should have
I
gone
think
episode by episode while it was airing, but we blew it.
uh season 2. We'll do that for season. How about
Yeah.
Nice.
but yeah, so I think, we've covered everything. I think we
Mhm.
all loved it. I think we're all looking forward. Um, oh, you guys have anything else to add to this?
It was fun. Hey, there's a new run coming out of Uncanny X-Men with Gail Simone authoring. I'm excited for it.
Nice.
This not only did this get me excited about just X-Men in general, but it makes me want to go read comics again. I haven't
Right?
had that bug in a while, but I want. So Brody, I'm coming to visit you in a few weeks, and I'm just going to be reading comics the whole time I'm at your place. So that way I don't have to buy them.
I always thought that's what happened when you go over there anyways.
He
Uh,
doesn't let very many people
get
touch his
like
comics.
I gotta get like my Jim Lee run right here.
I'm gonna eat a big sticky like jelly sandwich, and then I'm just gonna dig into your comic collection,
Come
buddy.
on, look at this.
Cool.
Ah. Oh,
But by
I
the way,
want to just absorb it.
Onslaught, that would look sweet, and it's like that's a cool looking character. I would love to see him in this animation style.
Yeah.
How about that piece? Onslaught stock right there.
Yeah, baby. All right, I'm
There
coming
it is.
for that.
Oh,
That stuff's
piece.
expensive, man. I don't want to buy it. You're like my free Napster comic download. Let's
Comic
go visit
library.
Brody and let's kind of check them all out one at a time.
All
Well,
right.
we look forward to hearing from you guys. Let us know. Did you watch this? Did you love it? Did you like it? Did you hate it?
Mm.
Controversial? I mean, hey, let us know. And we look forward to kind of interacting with you. If you need some X-Men comic recommendations, hit up Brody. It's a little late to say this in the in the episode, but I think you can thoroughly enjoy X-Men '97 without having ever seen one episode of the original animated series. You don't need to go back and watch that first. So, and now you know what happens, so you can just kind of watch it and enjoy it. But hit us up with questions if you got them, and let us know your thoughts. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Brody, show them some comics.
Go read some comics. All right. Bye.